Hi, I'm Emma Boyles, the founder of The Little Grey Sheep, and welcome back to our channel. If it's your first visit to the channel, no worries, all the details for subscribing and getting hold of our publications are in the bio below. This series is about supporting our new publication, Sticka 3, the Tithe collection. And we're going to be looking at some of the techniques that we've used in knitting those garments. The first one we're going to be looking at is the Cherry Plum Cardigan, and then we're going to look at the No Man's Land sweater. Both have this loop stitch detail, which I want to explain to you. So the technique we're looking at today is the loop stitch, and that's on the Cherry Plum Cardigan, and also it's the cast on for the fringe sweater, which is the No Man's Land sweater. You might have also noticed these lovely buttons. They're from Textile Gardens, and there's a link in the bio below for that. So first off, we're going to cast on and do the loop cast on for No Man's Land sweater, and I'm using two strands of Hampshire 4-ply. So it's a really quick knit, ideal for in front of the TV when you're not having to concentrate too much. I'm only going to cast on about 15 stitches so that I can show you the technique without you having to wait for hours. Right, so I've cast on, and with the loop stitch it's important that the actual loop stitch sits across a purl row. So we're now going to purl the next row, but the first stitch is going to be slipped. Then we're going to purl to the end. And then when we get to the last stitch, we're going to knit that stitch. And basically that gives us a nice easy edge to stitch up. So the next row is going to be our loop row, and for this we need to have a similar sized DPN, so double pointed needle. You can use a straight needle if you want. I just find these double pointed needles easier. So I'm going to slip the first stitch, purl, and then put the needle in as if I'm going to knit. Lie the next needle on top of it and twice round both needles and pull through. Now if you were to pull this off at the minute, it would all fall apart. So you then need to put the left needle back in to the stitch, do another loop round. There we go. I do a little tug on here to secure the stitch and pull it off, and there we have our first loop. So here we go again. We're putting the right needle into the stitch on the left needle as if to knit, placing the secondary needle on top, and we go once, twice round, and then pull all those stitches back through and take it off the left hand needle. Now to secure the stitch, you then need to put the left hand needle back through all of the loops and do another knit, knitting all those loops together. Before taking it off the secondary needle, give a little pull to secure it, and there we go. So here we go, here's the finished row. And you can see that the first couple of rows sort of turn back on themselves. And I use this to strengthen the cast on edge and to get the fringe to lay flat. And once it's blocked, I just catch in that first couple of rows and turn it back on itself, so it just firms up the cast on edge and keeps the fringe facing downwards. So there you have it, that's the loop cast on. Now it's exactly the same when you're doing the sleeve detail, apart from you're continuing on. So from here we would do a slip knitwise and then another purl row, so now I've just finished my row of purl, and the next row will be our loop row again. So I'm going to slip this purlwise as my edge stitch and then place the needle in and wrap twice, and off we go again. So when you're doing this, don't forget about the little tug to tighten up the stitches and get your loops, because then they all come out the same length, and obviously it looks a little bit more of a professional finish. Now with the No Man's Land sweater, we're obviously using quite large needles because we have double yarn. But it's exactly the same principle when doing the Cherry Plum. You're just using a smaller equivalent needle to the one that you're knitting with to do the loops, and that gives you a really nice tight texture. A little bit more yarn. When you're starting this, it's quite useful actually to be over a table, because you can sort of let the secondary needle go because it's supported a little bit on the tabletop. Just get that. Sometimes they are a little bit fiddly. Sense of humour needed. Okay. I do think it adds quite a nice detail though, having a little bit of texture, doing something a little bit different. And down, last one. There we go, little tug again. Final stitch is a purl, and you sort of get this, like it's almost like a woven back to it, but then when we turn it over you can see that it's starting to come with the loops. And obviously sort of this is another sample where I was practicing, and you can see even though these are smaller, they're nice and densely packed. And that is the loop stitch. So thanks very much for watching. Hope it's been useful, and remember to give us a big thumbs up down below if you enjoyed it. And also hit the red button to subscribe, and that will keep you up to date with all our new technique sessions and some other videos that we've got planned for later on in the year. I'd love to get your comments and feedback on how you found today and any other techniques that you would like us to cover on the channel. Also, please let me know any of your tips and tricks for doing the techniques. We're all learning, and it'd be lovely to have a discussion. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook or Twitter, and find out what the daily running of the farm and our yarn production. But until then, see you next time.